Andrew Left is the subject of a Bloomberg profile today that chronicles his current life, a bit of limbo as he awaits the outcomes of probes by the U.S. Justice Department and the SEC. Pleased to say that Andrew Left joins us right now to talk a little bit more really about the whole short selling ecosystem, Andrew, that, I don't know, just seems to have gone away over the last 3 or 4 years or so. And I'm wondering, is that because of the regulatory scrutiny, or is that more because of the public pushback from some of the retail traders?
It hasn't. First of all, my life's not in limbo. I see that. It's kind of scary to even read. I'm healthy. I'm doing just fine. Professionally, if Citron research is not thriving the way it used to, by no means should I ever think my life is in limbo. Just when you see that in your own name, it's kind of scary. As for the short selling, it's thriving right now. Recently, Hindenburg, Nate Anderson has done a wonderful job. He did stories on Icon and he did the big Adani. So that's doing just fine. For me personally, it changed how I chose to run Citron. But I think activist short selling has become very mainstream right now. When I started the industry like 23 years ago, it was quite unique. And right now, if you don't have an opinion on a stock and you don't publish your opinion, that's even more unique. So it's a good place right now.
Well, yes, and I mean, you are basically a pioneer in this space, but it's of course the road less traveled. It is a much harder way to make a buck, at least in terms of the scrutiny, the lawsuits, and all of the other things that come along with being a contrarian, the ultimate contrarian, if you will. I am curious about what you know, if anything, about these investigations. What exactly is the government looking into?
I don't know. I don't know what the government's looking into. I assume years ago, when the investigation started, 6 or 7 years ago, I don't even know when it started, but we're in a different environment that we have right now. When you see 100 million people sign up to Threads in a week, it shows you people want their opinions heard, and not just their opinions on what restaurant or what outfit they might wear, but on stocks. So everyone is expressing their stock opinion right now. So the activists are just people who maybe just do extra homework and express their opinion. I don't know what this exact investigation is about, but it has to do with short selling and activist short sellers, obviously.
Andrew, I definitely want to get to social media, but on that topic of what these investigations could be about, have you had any communication with investigators at this point?
I've not had any communication. No, I've not.
Okay, no communication with the investigators. What about other short sellers potentially under the lens here?
I mean, I can't speak for other short sellers, so I don't know. But if people think there's this like underground network of short sellers who try to ruin companies or anything like that, it doesn't work like that. It might be a cute thought, but no. Short selling, if you read any of the reports of the people, I know from Citron, if you read the Muddy Waters, you read the Hindenburgs, the group of people, there's a lot of thought and detail that goes into the work. And people should look at these activist short sellers, and they do now. I think the market takes activist short selling a lot more serious. Yeah. When a good activist short selling report comes out, there's a lot more of a market reaction than another sell-side research report, which just might be pumping a stock up to maybe do a secondary or to help out with the company. So I think, has there been some shoddy work in activist short selling? Of course, there's some shoddy work in any industry, but there's been a lot of great work.
Talk to us about, I guess, what the future ends up being, Andrew, because we talk about an industry, at least when we talk about dedicated shorts here, I mean, we're really only talking about a few dozen funds out there that are dedicated to that. And even if you throw in sort of some of the long short with the short bias funds, it's still a small fraction of the total industry.
I think retail traders are becoming more short also. You can't discount the effect of the retail trader. They've seen, when all the SPACs fell apart, when they saw what was going on at the end of 2021 and at the end of, there was a lot of opportunity on the short side that retail traders took advantage of. Mm-hmm. Short selling used to be known specifically for the professionals and the hedge funds, but the market has become a lot more democratized, partially because of activist short selling, and now even retail traders short stocks.
But when you talk about an individual retail trader could probably pull off a short in the way that maybe you can't, primarily because of the difference in scale. Basically, they can do it in a way that allows them to be a little bit more in the shadows. When you're going the traditional route, meaning, basically buying the shares and then selling them off and then buying them back at any sort of scale, you're going to attract a lot of attention. Can you do that at scale? Can someone like you or one of your peers in that same group, can you still do that?
Yeah, it's being done. I mean, right now, if you get the information, as I said, this year, Nate Anderson over at Hindenburg's had a hot hand, and he's done it at scale. And it can there'll be more opportunities. a lot more. I have no doubt about that. So yeah, it still can be done at scale.
Well, I want to talk a little bit about the opportunity set because there's some data that we have from Breakout Point, which says that the number of major new campaigns by activist short sellers actually dropped last year by about 16% to 113. And when you look at the universe of potential targets here, has that gotten smaller?
It has, because the market's become self-regulated, which is a very good thing. If you look at Twitter, the amount of people who are on and engage on a daily basis, it allows for stocks maybe not to get so carried away. That is a good thing. So the information on the internet is a good thing. So maybe that's why campaigns. Also 16%, I wouldn't call that statistically significant, how they would consider it, maybe because the market itself is lower in some areas. So, that's not that much of a change. And I think also the bar is being raised. I mean, I look at some of the earlier Citron reports, they were 2-3 pages long, just laying out a simple thesis. And right now, if you want to put out a good short report, you have to really be strong.
I want to talk a little bit about social media. You brought up Twitter, of course. You've deleted your tweets. I have a two-parter here. Would you ever go back to Twitter or another platform? And looking at the industry in general, do you think that we might see more activist short sellers kind of going underground here?
I just deleted my Twitter one day. I mean, Twitter is so filled with hate and meanness. And maybe as I got older, I just didn't have that in my belly anymore. And I realized it was foolish one day. I didn't realize deleting your Twitter was such a big deal. It's like breaking up with the world on Instagram or something. I didn't know it was like such a, and only until I did it. And afterwards, I'm getting called as if something crazy happened. I just wanted away from social media. I'll go back to Twitter, of course. I just don't want to every single person who was involved in any single stock I've ever tweeted or written about have to reach out to me and think I'm their nemesis for the past 20 years. It's too much of a burden to carry for me at the time. I didn't want to do it at that day. So, everything's changed. And things, obviously, I look at Twitter. I think it's a mean platform. How people act different when they're anonymous.
Yeah.
What's been interesting about activist short selling is I was one of the first people that came out there like 20 some odd years ago and said, here I am, here's my name, I'm not hiding behind anything, and here's what your company is all about.
So
and now
yeah, are you still actually active in the markets right now, either short or long?
Oh yeah, I'm active.
Yeah.
I'm active short and I'm active long, of course. I've always been, people say short seller. I've always been long as well. I've just been known for writing activist short selling newsletters. Doesn't mean I don't buy stocks. I'd be foolish not to.
Yeah, absolutely. But I mean, when we talk about sort of, I guess, the overlay of social media, and to a certain extent, I would think that would actually have made your job somewhat easier. I mean, when you started this, I mean, the only way to kind of get the word out, you had to have that network of people or go on a major television network or something to get the word out. And social media, in a way, led to that democratization that I think you were just talking about a little while ago with the retail set.
Yeah, 100%. The sad part is the attention span's gone down. I always wondered what percentage of reports actually get read. If you put out like a 20-page report, people really don't read as much.
They don't read them, Andrew. They read the headline or they get the gist from a media report and then they try to trade after you. I mean, there are a few people who do read it. And I mean, and like you said, I mean, there is valuable information in there. But we circle back, I guess, to what investigators and what some of your critics are saying is they're wondering how honest those reports are, whether there was any sort of collaboration or cooperation with other short sellers. That appears to be, I think, where some people are saying, okay, what really is this report about?
Well, they're not honest. It's funny. I was just did the Bloomberg radio, and as for cooperation, the weird part about that question is, let's say I liked Apple. And I called you up and said, I love Apple. I love my phone. I love the product. And what do you think? I agree. And we both buy Apple. Are we in collusion?
No.
So similarly, let's just say Valiant, who is raising drug prices every day, and they buy a company, raise drug prices. So if I call another short seller and say, how long could this company constantly buy new drugs, raise the pricing, and then drop it, then constantly raise pricing? Is that collusion? No. So try to find the truth. If you're trying to find the truth in the market, let's put collusion out of the way. It's not artificially manipulating prices any which way. The market's very thick and good. You can't artificially shove a stock down. It just doesn't work like that. The market's too efficient right now. I mean, look, GameStop is still high if you look where it is, even adjusted for splits. And others are probably just legacy holders who bought it afterwards or not selling. There's a lot of buyers out there in the market. So to think a short seller can artificially depress a stock is completely wrong. No, the exception would be the banks. I don't write on banks. And what was the effect of short selling with the regional banks? And could you? That's a whole nother story that I want no part of.